hey, let's tell a story. So I'm out here in the yard, and I was watching the squirrels before I started doing this, and thinking about the fact that they have no natural predators here. And then I thought of something. I never see cats roaming around here. I've never seen feral cats where we live now. And I looked it up, and I guess there's some kind of ordinance that you're not allowed to let your cats roam outside. All cats have to be inside cats. And I thought, man, no wonder I never see cats. But it reminded me of a feral cat story, since I don't see feral cats here. So let me tell you this story. You ever take someone for granted? Now, I don't mean just on purpose, ignoring them, but maybe you kind of think people are a certain way, and then they do something that just totally surprises you. Well, that happened to me. I was working at a gas station. This was 2011, and it was, it's a people job, and it was a weird job, but I'd been there for almost a year at this point, and we had a lot of regular customers, and I don't do so good at remembering names. They just kind of slip away. But I remember details about people that are kind of weird. Now, there was one customer. She was an older lady. By older, I mean in her 80s, a widow, maybe 5 feet tall, and she drove this giant car. Let me say it this way. In 1989, there was a band called the B-52s, came out with a song called Love Shack. Now, one of the lyrics in this song says, I've got me a Chrysler, it's as big as a whale, and we're about to set sail. Well, that's what this lady drove. It was a 1974 Chrysler New Yorker, 2-door. Those cars had the biggest butt on them of any car I'd ever seen. And it was as big as a whale. And so what I did was, to remember customers, I wrote down things about them. And for this lady, in my little gas station journal, she was known as Love Shack Grandma, because every time I saw that car coming, that song would start playing in my head, Love Shack, baby, Love Shack. Anyway, it's one of those days, and she's coming along, and I see her coming in, and this was early in the summer, and I'm visiting with her, and because her car was big, it took forever to fill it up, and she told me she's on her way to buy tomatoes, and I asked her what kind, and she told me, and I wrote that down in the journal after she left. Well, a few months later, she comes in, and I look down the road, and I see the whale coming. It was white over gold. You got to look it up online. 74 Chrysler New Yorker. You'll see how big these boats are. Now, when it was coming at you, it's kind of scary because she was so short that she looked through the steering wheel. She didn't look over it. And so we would hop up on the island to make sure we're out of the way. So she pulls in, rolls that giant window down, and I asked her how much she wants, which I didn't need to because she always bought $20 every time she came in. So she gave me her $20 bill, and I went to the back of the car to put her gas in. Now, in these big old cars, you had to flip the license plate down, which was in the middle, under the trunk lid, to put the gas nozzle in. Now, the problem with these old guys, in those cars like that, it took forever to get gas in them. Oh, by the way, I was in Oregon where you weren't allowed to pump your own gas. So if you're wondering that, that's why I was pumping gas. So I get the hose going. Anyway, it takes a long time because at some point the vent clogged, and so you had to put the gas in at the slowest speed, and even then it would kick off a couple times. So that gave me plenty of time to wash her windshield, because at this gas station, that's what we did. We tried to wash everyone's windshield and visit with them and try to find out something about our customers. So that's what I was doing with Grandma. Oh, hey there, Big Mama. There's a big old fat squirrel up on the roof here watching me. I grab the squeegee and I go to wash her windshield, and I notice she's all scratched up. Her arms are all scratched up. Now, this is a little tiny thing with the white Q-tip cotton hairdo that most of those 80-year-old ladies had, years ago. I remember as a kid at church, if you sat in the back and looked at the front, there was these patches of white Q-tip perms all over the place. Well, this was her, and I'm looking at her, and I don't remember her name, but she's all scratched up. Her arms are all scratched up. So I just asked her, whoa, you been out picking blackberries? And she goes, no, I had a cat incident. And I thought, oh, okay. And she goes, yeah, and he's been tearing up my garden and pooping in it and beating my cats up. And I was like, oh, really sorry to hear that. And I went to the back of the car because the gas hose had clicked off, and I'm bent down and I'm pumping gas in. And I hear this low guttural growl, just, and I thought, where's that coming from? And then I hear this boom, 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 boom. There's a cat in the trunk of this giant car. And I thought, oh, did this poor lady accidentally lock a cat in the trunk? And she's driving around. I thought, if she forgets, it could die back there. It's so hot today. So I'm listening, and I'm finishing up the gas, and I go up to her window, and I'm not sure what to say because I don't want to embarrass an older person that might have some dementia problems. But I look at her and I say, ma'am, I think you have a cat in your trunk. And this lady looked up at me with the biggest grin, and she had false teeth, so they looked really big. And she said, I know, I put the little snot in there myself. And she looked like Gollum from Lord of the Rings, like this change of, And I thought, whoa. And I really underestimated this little gal. And I go, is this the cat that's been messing up your garden and beating your cats up? She goes, yeah, I caught him last night. She held her hands up like this, and she's all bloody, scabby scratches all over her arms. And I thought, whoa, this little gal is blowing me away. And I looked at her, and I thought, wow, I could only imagine what that fight must have looked like when she cornered and grabbed this giant feral cat with her bare hands, and then somehow got to her car and got her keys to open the trunk and put it in there without it getting out. And I thought, whoa, this gal's full of surprises. So I looked down at her there in her car and said, so are you taking him to the pound? And she goes, no, if I take him to the pound, they'll probably kill him. No one wants a cat this mean. And I thought, oh, well, what are you doing? She goes, oh, I know some folks on the other side of town. They need a professional rat killer. And I got one in the trunk right here with me. Well, that was one of those times when I thought I knew who this old lady was, this old grandma. And I'm realizing as I age that us old folks have a lot more surprises up our sleeve than what some of these young people might realize. We have some life experiences that allow us to do things that others probably wouldn't even consider. And I remember that when you had a problem like that, well, you took care of it, and you didn't just take it out and destroy it or take it to the pound. You took him where he could live a good life at a farm or a ranch or something where they need a good rat killer cat. Because those guys are hard to find, and they're worth their weight in gold. Well, the next time you think you know someone and they do something that just totally surprises you, just take it in and go, wow, people are a lot different than what I thought they were. Or maybe a lot more interesting. So just go with it. Enjoy what God gives you when he shows you the true glimpse of people and who they are and who they can be. Well, this little gal started her car up, and the song started playing in my head again. Love Shack, baby, love. And she drove away with that cat in her trunk. Never had a cat in my trunk. But I bet it would be an interesting story. Well, that's all I got. I'm going to finish my coffee.